to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different, where our themes are family, community, Christianity, and business. Our motto is let's gel, let's grow, earn, and learn together. We're very excited to share again with our friends, our partners, Toastmasters International. We know that it is an international group that we can find representation all over the world. We've heard from some phenomenal Toastmasters and their leadership teams and some of their members, and we've heard what members are saying. Today, we're going to hear more about how I can start learning. We're going to hear about leadership for our young people. We're going to hear about some of the specialty clubs, as well as we're going to hear a bit about public relations. It is my honor, my privilege, and a pleasure to present to you none other than Miss Martha Hope. She is a member of one of our Rochester teams, and she will tell you more. We'll have a dynamic duo today, a mother and daughter team. They are esteemed Toastmasters, and they work very well with our young people. And we all know that young people are near and dear to my heart. So ladies, good evening and welcome. Miss Martha Hope and Miss Ashley Hampton. We are waiting with great anticipation to hear from you, ladies. So take it away.
Good evening, everyone, and certainly good evening to the host of the Carla Murphy Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to actually be here with you. I don't know what I'm going to do with Toastmaster Brenda Billups. Somebody help me out. What when she asks you something, you just know you have to answer. So I just wanted to say a little bit about the youth program that we're very proud of that's happening at the Lyceum Club in Rochester, New York, and it's an exciting venture. The program is all about youth from 8 to 17 years old. We haven't reached the 17th mark yet. We have young people that are 16. So what is it? What is the youth program about? Well, it's about informing and teaching the skills of communication and leadership. We know that Toastmasters is where leaders are made. So that's exactly what we're trying to do with our young people. It gives the ability to clearly express one's thoughts to others so they can be heard and understood, because most of the time we think that people understand what it is that we're saying, but it's important to be, if you want to be successful, is to try to be on the same page. People need to understand what it is that you're saying, and they should feel comfortable to say to you, could you say that again, without you being angry or upset about it. So we really need to learn to listen, because listening and hearing are two different things. So we're going to try to teach our young people that as well. We're going to have them participate in learning speaking and leadership skills. And these things can be used right through your lifetime. It doesn't stop at Toastmasters. It doesn't stop at school. It doesn't stop at church. And I think that what has happened, and I'm talking about the African American church, has actually, we had a platform for public speaking, and we never framed it that way or talked about it that way. But what was that Easter speech? What was that Christmas speech? You know, the older women in the church and the church leaders and the youth leaders, what did they do? They taught you how to stand, how to poise yourself, how to speak. So we were doing Toastmasters and we didn't even know it. And so that is kind of fizzled out, and we still need that. So that's part of what our young people will be learning, how to present yourself, how to say the words where people can understand what you're saying. We don't have to go off the cliff with it, but people should be able to understand what you're saying. At Toastmasters, our youth Toastmasters will learn to overcome nervousness. And that's hard to do sometimes. You think you're not going to be nervous, and as soon as you get up to the podium, your hands, your palms of your hands start to sweat, your hands start shaking, your legs start to shake. So we're going to try in our best to work on that. And it's hard to speak before an audience. We don't know exactly how all of that is going to go. You're wondering if you're saying the right thing. You wonder if they're going to like what you're saying. But we're going to talk a little bit about confidence. And we know that we have to have confidence in order to speak. And I've read some things and done a little bit of history on folks that actually do public speaking all the time. And nervousness is one of them. Some people push off the wall and count to 10 or count to 20. And some people just take deep breaths. And we're talking about people that are actually, they're actually comfortable with speaking, but it's that standing before people and being accepted. So we're going to try our best to teach confidence. And are we going to do this by ourselves? Absolutely not. We're going to get other Toastmasters to come in and help us. And it's not going to be just Lyceum Club. We're going to reach outside of Lyceum Club and get people to come in and help us out. Our kids are going to learn to organize and present ideas logically and convincingly. You know, when you speak, if you want success, if you want people to follow you, guess what? You have to convince them that this is the thing that should be done. So we're going to try to do that as well. As I said before, learn to listen to others' ideas. Do we have all the answers? No, we do not. We do not have all the answers. And you'd be surprised if you just listen to what someone else says. Because sometimes we tend to give ideas, give our views, but we never ask for views, but we never give the person a chance to say anything, because we just keep on talking. I know you run into people, they don't even let you get a word in edgeways. So we've got to be careful of that. And we're going to work on that with our young people. And guess what? No criticism. No criticism. Young people, adults, however it comes. Nobody wants to be criticized. This is an important key point, that we do this comfortably when we start to evaluate. As I said, we would like to increase confidence and build confidence. They'll meet new friends. You know that we have young people want to meet somebody new. I do too. I'm a people person, so I like networking and meeting new people and doing things. So we're going to try to make the environment fun as well. How does the program work? Well, the youth meet about 8 weeks after school or weekends. We've been trying to set up a time and a schedule that is comfortable for all of the young people. That has not really worked out yet. They're either taking piano lessons or violin lessons or dance lessons or doing some kind of tutoring after school. But we're going to work it out, and it's going to work fine. And that time lasts for about 1 to 2 hours, with the coordinators and the assistants there to help them get through the project. And we want to do a mentoring. And I'm thinking that I'm not going to speak for Ashley. She's an educator, but I'm not going to speak for her just because I'm her mother. But what I would hope that she would help us tutor and mentor the children. She's good at what she does. Even if she is my daughter, she's good at what she does. And each meeting, we will have the participants themselves. Each meeting will have them participate and actually run the meeting themselves. And we think that that would be the best way to do things in order to learn. I make a joke sometimes. I think when I was coming through school, I may have needed an IEP. Because if you don't get my focus, I can't focus and hear all of what you're saying. So I did learn as I came along in school that I've got to hear it, I gotta I gotta touch it, and then you have to tell me again about it, and then I can learn. The first session will be where we actually come together again and figure out. We thought maybe we would put the young people in groups, and we start to work with them in groups, and they would participate and choose a project of their own, and we would work with them on those projects. They learn all about conducting the meeting, and the group would elect officers. We've kind of gone through this in our organizational meetings with another organization, the Rochester Genesee Valley Club, and they choose their president, their secretary and treasurer, etc. And they would analyze the presenters as they speak. Again, no criticism. We'll work with them so they'll feel comfortable, because sometimes not just young people, not just children, if you criticize, they'll shut down. And we have had people just never come back to Toastmasters because they feel that they have been criticized. So we are very, very conscious of no criticism. And they'll learn to prepare effective speeches. We'll work on that. They'll learn how to evaluate, use the evaluators process, no criticism. We'll practice speaking and evaluating, and actually table topics and the impromptu topic of speaking, where we speak, what do I want to call it? Where someone asks you to speak and you speak right, speak on your feet. I'm not always good at that. I have to think about it for a couple of minutes, and then I go speak, and then they want me to sit, okay? And we're going to have panel discussions where they can have their own ideas about what they want to do in their group, giving them responsibility. We all need to learn responsibility. I know that we've learned about responsibility in our homes, in our environment. So we want our children to know that they have to learn how to be accountable, how to be responsible. If you say that you're going to take an officer's job, guess what? Then you have to follow up. You have to be accountable for that position. Our session will also, again, practice tabletop topics, listening, learning more about conducting meetings, and this will go out throughout the whole 8 weeks. The group will be able to learn how to plan a celebration, because we want to celebrate them. Once they get to a certain point, they need to be celebrated. All of us need to be celebrated. So we'll let them plan their own actions, their own celebration. We have a few things coming up since things are opening up. We're going to have field trips to theaters. If there's something going on at the Jiva Theater, we're taking our kids down there to see the play on the stage, and they can also get a feel of how to present themselves. We plan to open our youth program to the community. We will contact sororities, fraternities, other organizations, the school system, to get young people to come to the Lyceum Club, Youth Club meetings. So we have a lot of things in our mind. Our vision for it is certainly success. And yes, we want to build on what Toastmasters has said for all of us and laid the foundation for all of us, and that is the place where leaders are made. And we know in young people, just like adults, there are leaders. We just have to help them unravel those things so that they can evolve into real leaders and Toastmasters. So it's another good day, and we just remind our young folks that each day is an opportunity. If you're here, each day is an opportunity to achieve your dream. So don't give up on your dreams. Whatever it is, don't give up on it. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley at this point, and Ashley can talk a little bit about confidence and what she would like to do with our youth in the Lyceum Club youth program.
Hello, everyone. It is an honor to be here tonight and to speak of what we have coming up. As my mom kind of touched on a couple things, what I plan on doing is introducing the kids to lifetime skills. So presenting, I want them to be able to present themselves, introduce themselves, speak up, head up, build confidence. And building confidence could be a variety of things. It could be self-esteem. It could be confidence in schoolwork. It could just be confidence in presenting. So those are our goals as we spoke. The age groups are 8 to 17, and we hope to meet the students where they are. So our older kids are also going to act as mentors to our younger kids, and we hope to teach them leadership skills by doing that. Also, we kind of talked about having jobs. So if you're the secretary, you need to be on time, ready to take notes, and ready to be engaged. Everyone will present. Every will have job readiness days where they will come in and different people will talk about their careers. We'll let them dress up, do mock interviews. We're just teaching them to be prepared for leadership skills, career ready at all times. We're going to meet them where they are. So maybe 8-year-old is not ready to write a resume, but we will sit with them and go over some skills. You may clean the dishes once a week. We're going to write that down. You may cook in the microwave sometimes. Okay, you're a cook. You have experience cooking. We're just going to build them up and build confidence at a young age. So when they're ready for their career or they're ready to go to college, that they're actually ready. So it's so much we have in store for the youth. I'm so excited. I can go on and on about what I plan on doing, but I believe in showing. And soon you will see our results and how we're pouring into the youth and how they're able to present themselves and be members of society.
Ladies, thank you so much. I am very excited about that journey, and I'm excited to hear about the endless possibilities that you are making available to our young people. I am looking forward, and I cannot wait to see these young people who are taught to be masters of a lot of different trades, and they're going to master some. So it's going to be very exciting. We're looking forward to them brightening up our future and preparing to take our place. For truly, I won't be satisfied until one of our young people is sitting in my seat. And so thank you for all that you do, for the sacrificial, loving kindness and gentleness that you give when teaching and training our young people. We know that they are going to learn some valuable skills. They're going to be better communicators, and they're going to become outstanding leaders because of Miss Martha Hope and Miss Ashley Hampton. Thank you very much for all that you do. Next up on the lineup, we have one who's not a stranger to the Carla Murphy Show, Mr. Ray Mulgrew. He is going to talk to us about and give us an introduction to Toastmasters specialty clubs. We know that in every organization, you have people who learn the basics. And in some organizations, you have people who are set apart. They may specialize on and focus on a certain skill set, or they may focus on certain topics and themes, such as the Carla Murphy Show Uniquely Different, where we focus on family, community, Christianity, and business. It is my pleasure to turn the floor over to Mr. Ray, who is going to introduce us to Toastmasters specialty clubs. Good evening, Mr. Ray, and welcome again to the Carla Murphy Show.
Good evening, Carla. Thank you so much for having me on again. I've missed you. I've missed you terribly. It's just great to have things like this in a post-COVID new Zoom world, right? I work from home, and the people on my phone are my friends these days. So it's great to see you all. I want to talk about the Advanced Club. It's a specialty club here in Rochester. But in order to talk about the Advanced Club and why we're uniquely different, I have to tell you all about Toastmasters clubs as a whole. There's a few different categories of Toastmasters clubs. There's about 5 different sort of categories. The one most people think of is a community club. This is a Toastmasters club outside of any work environment. It's people that get together in the community. I think the first one started at a YMCA, and it's, again, just people that want to learn more about being better speakers, better leaders. And there's a huge networking component, especially for the community clubs. And they all basically have the same structure, but we also have corporate clubs, and we actually call them corporate programs, not corporate clubs, because we want to emphasize we're not just here to take up your employees' time to talk during lunch. Like, no, this is to benefit your company. It's part of HR's training program usually. Sometimes the company will even be paying for the membership fees for their members. And so they want to get something out of it. They want their presentations to be helping people be more efficient at work and have those 1 hour meetings that are going on for an hour and a half, and get them down to an hour, and get them down to 45 minutes, get them down to 15 minutes. If you think of a meeting that recurs every day for 15 minutes with 20 people, instead of an hour with those same 20 people, there's a huge benefit for employees, employers, and the corporate clubs. So they're a little bit different. Some of them are closed, meaning you have to be an employee or maybe a partner or vendor in order to be a member of the club. Some of them are even at secure facilities such as L3 Harris Communications. They don't allow the outside world to see their meetings, but there are corporate clubs that are open to the public. And just because you don't work at, say, Wegmans, you are still allowed to be a member if you choose to. It tends to be mostly employees anyway, but there's open versus closed in the corporate program environment. And again, we're stressing it as for the employer benefit. What's in it for me, right? That's the question that everybody asks, whether they're in a community club or just joining our corporate club. What's in it for me? So for the organization, this is part of their training. Their employees are getting to speak better. They are doing presentations on their work items in front of their peers. They can get evaluations and feedback to make their software development projects even better. Or maybe the website looks great, but wouldn't it be nice to have this button over here? So they can get ideas from their peers and just have that open communication, not just at Toastmasters meetings during lunch or whatever, but that also percolates beyond just the meeting into the whole corporate culture. That's why we call them corporate programs. There's also the youth leadership program, which the other two talked about. I won't get into too much detail, but to be a formal official Toastmasters member, you have to be 18 years old. So they have the youth leadership program for people that are not old enough to be Toastmasters, but still want to sort of get an idea what Toastmasters is like. And those are often 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or sometimes 10 weeks. It can be done in as little as 4 weeks. Sometimes that's a little bit rushed, but it really depends on the audience and who's going to want to do it. But people who do participate in the youth leadership program, if they later in life join Toastmasters, they get a part of their education award checked off as already done. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds with that. There are also a very similar thing called a Gavel Club. This is not a formal Toastmasters club. It's kind of Toastmasters light. Generally, it's something you start out in the community, maybe at a library or at a YMCA or a church, and just, go through, again, 3 to 5 meetings, maybe run it for a year is probably the longest I've ever heard of one. Often they're like a summer program, and it introduces people to Toastmasters. And if they like it, they may join a club. If they really like it, they may start a club from that. And again, they'll get credit towards their Toastmasters educational goals if they do become a member of a club later in life. So those are the main ones that you hear about most often. But what about people that have been in Toastmasters for 10 years or more, such as myself, people who have already earned that? There's a Distinguished Toastmasters Award, which means you've done the complete education program in leadership and in communication. And the Distinguished Toastmaster is the highest education award we have in Toastmasters. So what do you do after that? The answer is to join an advanced club. So advanced clubs are a little bit different. They tend to be longer speeches that are more well thought out, sometimes short stories, sometimes a very involved research project. And we also have enhanced evaluations, which means every speaker, instead of getting one evaluation, they get 2. One person will evaluate them on the content of their speech. What was the material that you put into it? What was the time that you put into it? What was the content? The other part is the delivery. How did you deliver your speech? Did you have good eye contact, vocal variety? Were you talking too slow or too fast? appropriate uses of pauses. So all of that delivery stuff that goes into there, and that's typically the structure of the speech as well. So those are the enhanced evaluations. And as advanced Toastmasters, we try to stretch ourselves beyond the limits of what a normal Toastmasters club would do. So I've told you about all the different types of Toastmasters clubs. There's about 5 of them. And I've told you what advanced Toastmasters offers to Toastmasters who've been in it for a while. I'm now going to take a step back and tell you all about the structure of a Toastmasters club more in general terms. The Toastmasters clubs need to have at least 8 members. At least 2 of them have to be existing members from the previous year. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but generally we try to target about 20 people for a Toastmasters club. That's a healthy number of people where there's enough people to fill all of the roles, but there's not so many people that people don't get opportunities to speak often enough. And so 20 is really the sweet spot that we look for. There are a couple clubs that are 34 members or more, and there's a few clubs that are as few as 8, and some of them run just fine. But when you have 8 members and you have a meeting, it often means you're doubling up on roles. So someone is a speaker and they're also the timer, or they're an evaluator and they're also the Toastmaster for the meeting, who's the person that runs the meeting. But they all have about the same structure. They do it in different orders, but there are table topics, prepared speeches, and evaluations. So table topics, as was described earlier, is a chance to speak off the cuff. You don't know the topic. You might know the topic, but not the question that's going to be asked of you ahead of time. And you're asked a question, given a pause, and then asked to answer, but it's only for 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. So they're very good for practicing elevator speeches and being able to answer questions. I know for myself at job interviews, I missed several jobs because they asked me a question and I went on and on for 20 minutes. Table topics is perfect because it gives you the opportunity to practice a 2-minute short speech. And there's a little thing that I call prep. You state your point, you give a reason, you give an example, and you state your point. I think it was Brenda that told me that originally. I found that very useful. You also have the prepared speeches. This is where someone has taken the time to put a speech together in advance according to a set of criteria and rules that they start out very easy with the icebreaker that you almost can't do wrong, and then they add in vocal variety and eye contact and visual props, and it gets more and more involved as you go. So those are the prepared speeches. Often many clubs will have a mentoring program, so I will write a speech and then sit down with my mentor and review it and try to change it around, maybe take this part out and put this part in, change the order, and sort of have some practice in the speech, and then deliver it at my Toastmasters club. And then my favorite, the meat and potatoes of Toastmaster meetings, is the evaluations. How many times in life do you do some great thing and you get no feedback? Did I do it right? Did anybody notice? Did anybody care? I've been working at my job for 1.5 years and my boss comes up like, Ray, performance review tomorrow. Okay, what have you done for us all year? Well, I haven't gotten any feedback all year. So it's tough when you're in those situations. I've been in them before, but at Toastmasters, that's not the case. You get an evaluation, or in the case of the Advanced Club, 2 evaluations, but at least 1 evaluation from a fellow Toastmaster member, or sometimes a guest, rarely, but sometimes a guest, but you'll get immediate feedback on what you did well. Here's the speech requirements. They said to include visual aids, and you did a great job with this picture. So like really kind of build them up from the beginning, and then sort of the meat of that evaluation. Here's some things to do to make that great speech even better, possibly good enough for a contest, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then you end the evaluation with more uplifting ways. You give them a summary of what you told them and give them some really positive energy and inspiration so that they'll want to come back and do a prepared speech again as soon as possible. So that's really the structure of a Toastmasters meeting. There's also some structure to a Toastmasters club. All clubs have 7 officers, some would say 8, but you have a president, vice president education, vice president of membership. Those are the top 3 officers, and they're sort of the core group that holds the club together. And then there's also a public relations, vice president of public relations. There's a treasurer, there's a secretary, and the sergeant at arms is actually responsible for running the meetings and is the only one who can overrule the president if the president is out of order. So that's sort of a lesser known Robert's Rules of Order type thing. But I'll also talk a little bit about the structure of club, they have 7 officers plus the immediate past president. Unless it's a new club, whoever was president last year, you can't be president twice in a row without a waiver. And so the immediate past president is really there to help the president, new president, and the rest of the officers do a transition to their new roles and help the club learn and grow and be successful. So that's the structure of a club. We also have areas, which are groupings of clubs. Usually there's 4 to 6 clubs in an area. And those are clubs that are kind of like sister clubs. We encourage them to visit each other. Obviously, we were doing more of that before coronavirus, but we like to have them be in contact with each other, and they're sort of close by. Sometimes they have members that were in one club and now they're in another, or people that are members of both clubs even. So those are clubs that are usually geographically close by, at least in Western New York, that's the case. In the Bahamas, that's not so much because they have clubs on all these different islands. So that's not always possible. But for Western New York, we also have divisions. There's 5 in our District 65, which covers basically Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, and the Southern Tier. And each division has got 4 to 6 clubs. And then there's the district. We're in District 65, which is Western New York. Beyond that, I won't get too much into the weeds, but beyond the district, there's a region, which is basically for us a slice that goes from Canada down to Florida. And then there is Toastmasters International. And the reason I mention those groupings is because we have a contest every year. And the contest, especially for the international contest, it will start at the club. Whoever wins the club goes on to the area. That person then goes on to the division. That person goes on to the district. So by the time you get to it, like a district speech contest, you're seeing perhaps 5 of the best speakers in Western New York. And then beyond that, Toastmasters has a conference every year, and that's where you see the regional contestants. And then they get down to, there's 10 regional contests, and then you get the last 10 contestants to that. And whoever wins that is given the title World Champion of Public Speaking. And that is a game-changing title. I'm sure that's not something I myself have even come close to. But again, you're seeing at that point the 10 best speakers in the world for Toastmasters International. So that's why I mentioned some of the groupings. I'll talk now a little bit about some of the club officer roles. This gets sort of away from the communication piece into the leadership track. And I know I'll talk about myself to begin with. When I joined Toastmasters, I came up through the ranks as a software developer. So I was behind a keyboard in front of a monitor. I wasn't customer facing. I didn't have a lot of interactions with people in my life. So when I joined Toastmasters, I gave my first speech. I was terrified. I was literally sweating, and they didn't tell me it was 5 to 7 minutes, and I went on for 45 minutes, and they just didn't tell me because they didn't have any other speakers. And it was horrible at the time. Looking back on it, that's how memories are forged. That's a moment I will never forget in my life, as you know, the early days of Toastmasters. And then I get to see that with other people that join and are terrified, or maybe they have that stuttering issue or a speech impediment. And sometimes it's 3 speeches, sometimes it's 9, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 3 months. But you see someone who you know was really struggling and really trying to improve, and all of a sudden they come in and just nail a speech, just knock it out of the park. And that's why I stay in Toastmasters. So as far as the leadership goes, it took me about 8 years in Toastmasters before I even realized there was a leadership component. And I started learning that there are club officers. So I'm going to talk about those sort of in order. The president is the cheerleader for your club. They are really the figurehead and the main spokesperson for the club. They preside over the regular meetings, which are meetings with members and guests and speeches. And there's also an executive council meeting, which typically meets a different day. And that is the club officers sort of doing the maintenance of the club and keeping the lights on, keeping everything working. The president of the club is also responsible for earning the Distinguished Club Recognition, which is basically a set of, there's 10 goals put out by Toastmasters International for your club to strive to. When you first learn about them, they seem like, oh, these are rules by Toastmasters, who cares? But they're really meant to make your club healthy, stay together, and have fun, and just have a great quality club. So the president's really responsible for leading and guiding that effort, and also leading and guiding the other officers in their roles. Then there is the VP of Education. That is the person that is responsible for recognition of educational awards. So whenever a Toastmaster does something in Toastmaster, they achieve an accomplishment, they'll recognize it at meetings. If a Toastmaster does something outside of Toastmasters and earns an award in the community, you would certainly recognize that. But also meeting with the members at the beginning of the Toastmaster year, which is July 1st, so coming up fast, and talking with the members and, Ray, what do you want to learn this year? What do you want to work on? What are your strengths? Are there any weaknesses that you'd like to sort of, get a soft pillow approach to? What is it that you want from your Toastmaster club? And then the VP Education will do their best to make that happen. Sometimes you have members that come in and all they want to do is speeches. They don't want to do the evaluations. And yeah, you have to rotate through them other roles, but there might be extra speaker slots that are available here and there. There's also the VP of Membership. I later in my Toastmaster career learned that membership is synonymous with marketing, which is synonymous with advertising, which is synonymous with sales, but really they're in charge of the club growth. And a lot of people think it's the job of the VP membership to go out there and grab guests and bring them in and get them to join. And that is indeed part of the role, but you can't forget about your existing members. These are people that are already showing up to our meetings. They're giving speeches, they're doing evaluations. Some of them are serving as officer roles. As VP membership, you really need to pay attention to our existing members just as much as trying to attract new members. The next one is a VP of Public Relations. That one has a lot of crossover with the VP membership role, but they're responsible for the external communications outside of the club. Are we posting stuff on social media? Do we have an article in the local newspaper listing our meeting times? Are we reaching out to guests in the community? Are we going to community events and having a little booth with our Toastmasters Club materials out there, which we'll get back to after coronavirus? But the VP of Public Relations is really responsible for that communication to the outside world, putting up brochures at libraries and passing out things at malls, that kind of stuff. There is also, for any good club, has got a treasurer, because we have club finances. Most of that comes from the club membership dues that we pay to Toastmasters, and a portion of that is given to clubs. And then clubs can also charge additional club dues if they want. But the treasurer is really the purse strings for the club, deciding what we can spend money on, what's worth investing in. Do we want to spend money on marketing? Do we want to have a special picnic for all our members in the summer and pay for it for all of them, or charge them just $1, but the club pays for the rest? And so those are the roles. The other one I wanted to touch on briefly, I do see I'm out of time, but the secretary role is the one that takes the notes and the agendas for the club. And there's also the sergeant at arms, who is responsible for setting up the meeting space before and starting the meeting and turning it over to the presiding officer and making sure that we stay on time. That's another thing we love in Toastmasters. And with that, back to you, Carla.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. We appreciate you sharing and telling us a bit about specialty clubs. Seems like an exciting and amazing time that people have as they come together. And we've heard a bit about our leadership as well as public relations. So thank you so much for coming and sharing again on the Carla Murphy Show. We're so happy to have with us next up, Ms. Jean Pryor. She is going to talk to us more about Toastmasters and public relations. We know that public relations is a strategic communication process. It builds mutual beneficial relationships between organizations and the public. We know that Ms. Jean Pryor, she has a heart of gold. We know that she likes to share information. We know that she likes to be a resource to the community and to talk about the greatness of Toastmasters. It is my pleasure and my honor to share this platform again with Ms. Jean Pryor. Good evening and welcome to the show. Take us a bit higher and higher, Ms. Jean.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carla. It's a pleasure and a joy to be back with you again. And good evening to fellow Toastmasters. Tonight, I will attempt to give you an overview of the roles and duties of public relations person, and I would take it from the perspective of Toastmasters. First of all, the objective of the Toastmaster person, they are the fourth highest ranking person within a Toastmasters club. The president, VP of education, VP of membership, and then VP of public relations, in that order. First of all, they have to identify their role. They have to know how they're going to fulfill those responsibilities. And they must find resources to help them fulfill those responsibilities. This is a role you do not have to and cannot do alone. I often recommend that the person that chairs VP of Public Relations work very closely with VP of Membership. Those two roles are very similar, and in a way they crisscross. There are three components to a VP of Education: what they do before the meeting, in the meeting, and after the meeting. To begin, before the meeting, when they attend the meeting, they must check first, perhaps with the president or VP of Education, to see if there's anything like an award or something special that has to be publicized, so they can put that on the website, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Those are good tools to utilize to publicize what is happening in the club. I also suggest, if you're a person that's not quite good with technology, with cameras, make sure you have someone that can do the photography. Set up a committee. You can have a committee. So make sure you have someone that can handle that piece for you when you are going to place things. Make sure when you in the meeting, you let the club know what you have updated on the website, and should always make sure that website is kept updated and it's current. Outside of the meeting, when you're working with the media, this is a very important piece. Have a script ready when you are going to want to set up a presentation on a TV station. Have a precise script ready. You don't want to go all over, but you want to give a synopsis of international. But if, for example, if you're promoting open house for your club, you want to put most of the attention in your local club. And then you want to identify your TV stations. You want to identify your TV stations. Many TV stations have programs that come on the weekend. When you reach out to that TV station, make sure you get a name, a direct phone number, and who is the main person that can make that contact for you. If you do not get a reply within a couple of days, make sure you do a follow-up. That is very, very important. And we found this out when we were doing the conference. If you want to post for an event, see how far in advance with the media that you have to contact them. I know some stations, they're booked far in advance, so you can't decide, I will post like within the month of 3 weeks. You will not get a place on that program. Make sure you attend all trainings. Now that we're still on Zoom, and a lot of Toastmasters information is given to us how we meet in person. For example, when we go back to meeting in person, make sure you have flip charts, you have screens, you have all of that available. And as I indicated, make sure that you work closely with the membership chair, because those roles are crisscross, they connect very well. When you go on TV, you can make the arrangement, but you do not have to be the person that actually will be the person that will be identified going onto television. Use, as I indicated, if someone is receiving an award, that's something can be put on Facebook or LinkedIn. If someone, you want to really identify when you have a full meeting. So if you're trying to recruit for membership, that way, if I'm watching, I'm interested in joining Toastmasters, I can see what a full Toastmasters meeting look like from what you have posted on Facebook or LinkedIn. If someone, table topics is another thing to post. That way, the person can view how we do table topics. So you're really giving them an actual overview with your posting before they attend the meeting. And by doing that, you can help them make up their mind to attend a meeting. And those are some of the, there's so much more to PR, but as I indicated, keep the website updated. And now that we're on Zoom at the moment, make sure that your club information is current. Keep your physical location address out there. Perhaps what I did with our club, I indicated we are now on Zoom until further notice, but they do know that we have a physical address where we actually meet. So those are some of the key points that I would like to share with you. Like I said, there's so much more, but make sure the websites and things are updated, because if someone trying to get in and they want to identify, find a club and it's outdated website, that does not look professional, first of all, you know. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jean Pryor, for sharing with us about public relations. And certainly it helps to prove the point that Toastmasters and the public relations team, they work hard to generate positive awareness of the Toastmasters brand for the purpose of attracting and retaining members. So I know that you all are doing a phenomenal job with building the Toastmasters clubs, and certainly there's always room for more. And that leads us to our producer and one of the leaders, the top leader, incoming director for District 65 of Toastmasters in the Rochester, New York area, none other than our esteemed, distinguished, and outstanding producer of the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different, Mrs. Brenda Billups. She's going to talk to us a bit about the district and leadership in Toastmasters. In order to have a successful district, the clubs and the members, they depend upon the district leader making sure that they execute all of their responsibilities to meet the needs of the office and the people that they serve. So Mrs. Brenda Billups, thank you so much for all that you do, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Carla Murphy. Thank you, all these participants from Toastmasters. Ray tried to be surprised when he had 20 minutes. Ray can talk for 20, take a break in 20 and 20. So he knew he could do it. Thank you, Ray. Because he planned to bring his other members from his advanced club, but due to the short notice, they weren't able to come. So he will be back with the advanced club a little later. Ray talked a little bit about leadership. He talked about the leadership roles within the club. The president, the vice president of education, the vice president of membership, the vice president of public relations, the secretary, the sergeant at arms, the treasurer. He talked about all of those leadership roles within your club. However, we have other leadership roles outside of our club. All the leadership roles plays a very important part in your life, especially if you are in the corporate world or in business for yourself, because it teaches you how to work with people, how to be a team player. And those are some of the things that we emphasize as being a leader. In order to lead, you need to know where you're going. So you need to have a vision. You need to have a purpose. And not just a vision just in front of your face, but you need to look ahead, at least 5 years out, as to where you would like to see the organization that you're the leader of. As a good leader, you need to, as Martha talked about, listen. Listen. In order to lead people, you need to know them. You need to know what they're saying. You need to know what they want. One of my very first meetings was with the past governors and directors of District 65. I wanted to know where they had been, what they had done, and what they would like to see happen in the future. I also had a meeting with the members. I needed to know if they had any issues or concerns, because I did not want to make the same mistakes or overlook the same things that we didn't do last year, and some things that we could have made better if only we had listened. That's why you ask for feedback. That's why you ask, is there anything I can do? Those are the things that you need to act on. Because if you don't have anyone to lead, then you're not a leader. You're just on a ship without a sail. So in order to be a good leader, you have to know who you're working with. You need to have a purpose, and you need to know where you're going. Within our district, we have many committees. We have what we call our trio. That is our top three, which would be our district director, our program quality director, and our club growth director. We also have a finance manager. We have an administrator. We have a parliamentarian. We have a webmaster. We have a logistic manager. We have an audit committee. And we do have public relations. We do have a contest for our district committee. We have a retention committee. Being part of these teams teach you how to work with others. It gives you the skills that you would need to become a leader. You share ideas. As I said, not only that would help you within your club, but also would help you on your job and at your church, in your community, all over. Learning to be a leader can help you climb the ladder in the corporation. So we specify as Toastmasters where leaders are made. That is part of becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. You will need to serve in a leadership role in order to get that, what we call the DTM, which is Distinguished Toastmasters Award. So make that part of your life. Learn to help others. You may not want to be that grand leader, but you may want to just be able to be a good team player, offer suggestions, offer directions. Don't always just sit in the meeting and never say anything, but you want to complain. That will not help your leadership skills or the person that you're listening to. That's why we learn to speak our mind, but speak it with love, speak it with care. That way you can win others and you become a good team player. So I say to you, leadership is an excellent role as long as you listen and be a good guideline to the ones that you are trying to lead. Thank you, Carla Murphy. We appreciate coming onto your show because we are becoming uniquely different, just as you are. Thank you, Carla Murphy.
Thank you very much. That was excellent, Miss Brenda. Prior to the show, I must admit, although I've heard about Toastmasters in times past, I could not wait to hear more information about this amazing group. If I ever wanted to know about learning and growing and earning and learning together, I would have to ask myself, how do I learn and grow with Toastmasters? Well, you all have done a magnificent job helping me, our viewers, and the listening audience to know that everything is possible. We know that if you're looking for a brighter future, better communication skills, and leadership opportunities, we heard from an organization, Toastmasters International, a place where leaders are made. So this has been an amazing time, a wonderful show, and we are thankful to each of you for coming yet again to share with us on the Carla Murphy Show, for truly you are uniquely different. And for those viewers and listening audience, we would love to connect with you. We would like to hear about your greatness, all of the wonderful things that you're doing. Please call me, your host, Carla A. Murphy, at 716-553-3109, or email me, Carla Murphy, uniquelydifferent@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We would love to feature you in a uniquely different spotlight. Talk about yourself and what you do. Talk about your journey. We would love to hear from community organizations, churches, and businesses about their great talents and abilities and the products and services that they sell on the Uniquely Different Showcase. So we're waiting to hear from you. This show was created with you in mind as a venue for you to be able to share your voice, to let it be heard, to share your vocations, and to gain ultimate victory. So thank you so much for being with us. We're looking forward to our next times together that we share Toastmasters. It's been a pleasure. Till we meet again, take care.